This chapter is recorded not as a tale of heroes, but as a fragment of forbidden truth, one that even the ancient gods hesitate to speak aloud. In Recap Tales of Herding Gods, Chapter 795, Chapter 796, Qin Mu stands at the edge of revelation, where the grand war between half-gods and humans is stripped of its glory, exposing a calculated deception that cost countless lives. The alliance of Celestial Venerable Yun and Celestial Venerable Hao, once sworn enemies bound by bloodshed, emerges not as rumor, but as a chilling certainty. Their cooperation was no accident, but a long-crafted illusion meant to lure the invincible Celestial Emperor into his downfall. And yet his death was only the beginning. As Qin Mu pieces together the fragments, Heaven Duke's reluctant confessions, Earth Count's veiled warnings, and the unsettling silence of Celestial Empress, a more terrifying question takes shape. If the Celestial Emperor is truly dead, then who now sits upon his throne? With secrets buried beneath corpse mountains and identities twisted beyond recognition, Qin Mu must decide whether to seek power or survive the truth. But in a world where even gods admit to selfishness, one thing becomes certain. The closer he gets to the answer, the more dangerous it becomes to ask. Qin Mu's mind drifted into a vast and bewildering haze. One stood as Jue Wuchen, a peerless beauty born from the primordial womb of Mother Earth's realm. One stood as the sovereign of the half-gods, the Celestial Emperor who ruled the heavens of the half-gods, Celestial Venerable Hao. One stood as the Lord of all post-creation lifeforms, the Master of the Heaven Alliance, the Celestial Emperor of the human heavens, Celestial Venerable Yun. At the zenith of the Celestial Emperor's invincibility, when the war between half-gods and humans had descended into its most savage and blood-soaked depths, that was the very moment when a killing snare was laid against him. In this grand tapestry, the figures of Heaven Duke, Earth Count, and Mother Earth were anything but radiant. More chilling still, what should have been an absolute secret, the reincarnation of the Celestial Emperor, had somehow been exposed to the world. Yet what sent the deepest tremor through Qin Mu's heart was the alliance between Celestial Venerable Yun and Celestial Venerable Hao, the two sworn enemies of fate. Such an alliance should have been impossible. Their enmity ran deep as the abyss. How could they cast aside such hatred and unite to strike down the Celestial Emperor? Between life forms and half-gods lay a primal feud. The enmity of predator and prey, master and slave. As both sides rose and clashed in endless cycles of bloodshed, that hatred should only have grown deeper with each passing era. Beyond the racial hatred, the personal vendetta between Celestial Venerable Yun and Celestial Venerable Hao was further fueled by the murder of Celestial Venerable Yu. By all logic, Yun should never have stood alongside Hao. And yet, the impossible had come to pass. What chilled Qin Mu to the bone was the realization that perhaps this had all been orchestrated long ago. The so-called war between half-gods and life forms may have been nothing more than a grand illusion, a performance staged to lull the Celestial Emperor into lowering his guard. During that era, just how many lives had been extinguished? The number of fallen life forms and half-gods was likely beyond reckoning. Across mountains of corpses and seas of blood, the faces of Celestial Venerable Yun and Celestial Venerable Hao loomed, cold, devoid of warmth, utterly without emotion. Both of them are terrifying. Qin Mu shuddered, forcing his mind back into clarity. The voice of Heaven Duke echoed slowly, like a bell tolling through the void. In that battle, the Celestial Emperor perished, reduced to dust by their hands. I do not know why Mother Earth chose that path, nor do I know if she personally acted. At that time, all of us harbored our own selfish desires. Heh. The notion that ancient gods are impartial is merely a false praise from mortals. We ancient gods are far from as noble as you believe. Son of Qin, now that you have seen how we act, you would do well to be wary of us. Qin Mu exhaled a trembling breath, murmuring, No wonder Yan Qilin warned me to be cautious of the Heaven Alliance, to be vigilant against Heaven Duke and Earth Count, to guard against Mother Earth. So this is why. At last he understood. Behind Yan Qilin stood the shadow of the Celestial Emperor, and his death had come in part because Heaven Duke, Earth Count, and Mother Earth had chosen inaction. Meanwhile, the Heaven Alliance had been the blade that struck him down. In that case, if Mother Earth claimed she died at the hands of the Heaven Alliance, Then why did her primordial tree end up in the Celestial Emperor's possession? Qin Mu frowned, unable to reconcile the contradiction. At that moment, Heaven Duke continued, after the Celestial Emperor's fall, a strange event occurred. It is precisely because of this that I cannot determine which of the three celestial heavens ultimately prevailed. Qin Mu hurriedly pressed, what happened? Heaven Duke replied, after the Celestial Emperor's death, Celestial Venerable Yun and Celestial Venerable Hao both rushed toward the celestial heavens with astonishing speed. Their cultivation at that time was already beyond extraordinary. Yet what puzzled me was that Celestial Venerable Yun had taken on the appearance of Celestial Venerable Hao. Both were racing with all their might, each striving to arrive before the other. Only later did I come to understand their intent. His gaze grew strange, and he spoke in a low voice. They were racing to seize the Celestial Emperor's corporeal body. Qin Mu's entire body trembled violently. The news of the Celestial Emperor's death was never made public. Though he had perished, the Celestial Emperor within the celestial heavens remained alive in appearance. Heaven Duke's eyes seemed distant. Yun and Hao rushed like lightning to seize control of that body. Whoever controlled it would inherit the Celestial Emperor's authority and awe. With such power, suppressing the other would be effortless. Think carefully. Is there a more convenient way to seize power? Yet, I did not witness which of them reached it first. Qin Mu stood as though turned to wood. After a long moment, he asked, Celestial Venerable Yun transformed into Hao's form? How was that possible? Heaven Duke remained silent. Brahma Buddha sighed softly. His aged face creased with worry. I taught him. As the leader of humanity and the Heaven Alliance, he sought to bolster the morale of his people. He wished to take on the forms of Celestial Venerable Mu and Celestial Venerable Qin, both of whom had vanished. When he came to me, I gladly instructed him. At that time, humanity was suffering greatly. Qin Mu pondered deeply, then suddenly asked, Then is Celestial Venerable Yun truly human? Brahma Buddha was taken aback, then understood the implication. He shook his head. I do not know. Qin Mu turned his gaze toward Heaven Duke, who also shook his head. I cannot say whether he is human or half-god. He has always appeared human. However, he paused, then added, Celestial Venerable Hao has always appeared human as well. Silence fell heavily upon the surroundings. Heaven Duke continued, I only know this. The Celestial Emperor, who now sits upon the Dragon Han celestial throne, is no longer the true one. Yet I do not know which of them occupies that seat. Afterward, events spiraled further. Heaven Han celestial heavens were destroyed, and soon after, Dragon Heaven celestial heavens followed. The ancient heavens then ascended higher and higher, drifting far from Yuandu, which had become the great ruins after that great battle, until the rise of the Crimson Emperor from the ruins. Crimson Emperor seemed momentarily lost in thought. In those days, the great ruins were chaotic and perilous. I narrowly escaped death countless times. As a youth, I roamed widely and discovered many remnants of the fallen celestial heavens. One day I came upon a statue of a god with 3 heads and 6 arms, though its face had long been worn away. In that instant, inspiration struck me. I sat beneath that statue for a long time, and finally comprehended my own Tao. Qin Mu's mind reeled. Was it my statue? I could not discern its face clearly. Crimson Emperor replied with a shake of his head. Qin Mu's thoughts were in utter turmoil. The revelations from Heaven Duke and the others were too vast, too explosive. He could not digest them all. Suddenly, he recalled something and urgently asked, What about the Celestial Empress? She and her sister remain in the celestial heavens. Whether Yun or Hao seized the body, they could not have hidden it from the sisters. Why did they not expose the truth? Heaven Duke replied, Son of Qin, have you not wondered how the news of the Celestial Emperor's reincarnation was leaked? If the seizure of his body could not be concealed from the Celestial Empress and her sister, then neither could his reincarnation. Qin Mu pressed his hand to his forehead, pacing around the stone table until even Great Sun Sovereign became dizzy from watching. Abruptly he halted. Then Celestial Venerable Hao must have prevailed. If Yun had succeeded, the Celestial Empress and her sister would have exposed him. They bore deep grudges against him. At that moment, Earth Count spoke coldly. Are you certain Celestial Venerable Yun has no connection to them? it is not impossible that he is their son. After all, many ancient gods have undergone reincarnation. Qin Mu froze, his thoughts unraveling completely. Heaven Duke hesitated before adding, "Before this, there was also an incident, an attack on the Celestial Empress. The little bird told me of it, saying something about it was peculiar." Great Sun Sovereign let out a mournful wail. Just as Heaven Duke was about to continue, Earth Count interjected, "Tao friend, you have said enough. The matter of the Celestial Emperor ends here. There is no need to sow further speculation." Heaven Duke came to himself and waved Qin Mu away. "Son of Qin, leave now. Do not disturb our peace again. You already know more than enough. The more you learn, the greater the danger you invite." Qin Mu hurriedly said, "There is one last question. Answer this, and I will not trouble you further." Heaven Duke replied patiently, "Speak." "If the Celestial Emperor is truly dead and his body taken over, how do you explain Yanqiling?" Qin Mu continued rapidly, "She is clearly his successor, cultivating myriad great Taos, and even wielding the divine art of Tao One. She came because the primordial realm was unsealed and brought both the primordial tree and a new Mother Earth. These are not things she could have created alone. Someone must be aiding her. Does that not mean the Celestial Emperor still lives?" Heaven Duke stared wide-eyed and snapped, "How would I know? Who am I supposed to ask? Go! If you linger, I will release your brother to suppress you here." The big-headed baby clapped in delight. Qin Mu's face darkened. Knowing he could press no further, he withdrew his undying consciousness. At the stone table, Heaven Duke and Earth Count sat once more. Great Sun Sovereign hastily vacated his seat and stood aside. Heaven Duke asked, "The matter of the Celestial Empress's attack? Why did you stop me?" Earth Count replied, "Reveal too much, and you invite disaster upon him. In this world, the more one knows, the sooner one dies." As he spoke, he glanced at Great Sun Sovereign. The Sovereign remained silent, touching his back and opening his beak, yet uttering no words. "Moreover, knowledge is capital," Earth Count continued. "Look at Yudu. I have used his power to purge the influence of the celestial heavens. Tao friend, you indulge in speaking freely, but have you considered how many celestial forces linger upon you? Would you not borrow his strength to rid yourself of such dangers?" Heaven Duke gaped, stammering, "You call yourself honest? If you are honest, I will pierce a hole through the heavens." Earth Count's expression remained as unchanging as stone. "I am the ruler of Yudu, the origin of the devil path. I possess certain methods." Heaven Duke laughed. "Then I must invite him to Xuandu soon. Ha ha ha." Meanwhile, Qin Mu sat upon the Dragon Chilin's head, tending to his wounds. Before long, most of his injuries were healed. Suddenly, a thought struck him. Earth Count is difficult to approach, but Heaven Duke is more forthcoming. I forgot to ask whether Mother Earth's blessing is a form of surveillance. Having already been expelled, he could not return to ask. He could only set it aside. I should return to eternal peace and consult Teacher Woodcutter. His knowledge surpasses mine greatly. He will surely see through it. If it is truly a means of surveillance, then I must erase the blessings the gods bestowed upon Celestial Venerable Yu. He searched through his touty sack and retrieved the token and decree bestowed by the Celestial Emperor. Hesitation flickered in his eyes. Yanqiling had said the Celestial Emperor's blessing lay hidden within them. Should he open the decree? If it were a method of surveillance, then his every movement might be exposed to the Celestial Emperor, whose fate remained uncertain. After a moment of indecision, he stored them away again. After Teacher Woodcutter examines Mother Earth's blessing, I will decide. The Celestial Emperor's blessing may protect me, but I do not understand his intentions. Whether they are good or ill, look at what befell Celestial Venerable Yu. He then activated the Overlord Body 3 elixir technique. 6 thunderous rumbles erupted from within him as his spirit embryo, 5 elements, 6 directions, 7 stars, celestial being, and life and death divine treasures all opened at once. His primordial spirit stood upon the land of 6 directions. Beside him rose the towering builder tree, reaching the heights of sun and moon. Beneath his feet lay darkness. Yudu. The life and death divine treasure bridged existence and oblivion, extending directly into Yudu. Man stands between heaven and earth, the sky above, the ground below. Ascend to become a god, descend to become a devil. Both aspects dwell within us. Then, The counterpart to the life and death divine treasure must be the Xuandu divine treasure. His primordial spirit reversed. With a thunderous roar, his devil path divine treasures opened. Extending upward toward the celestial being divine treasure, another barrier shattered, and boundless heavenly light poured forth, illuminating the life and death divine treasure of Yudu. Lowering his gaze, Qin Mu saw himself standing upon Xuandu. His expression froze as realization dawned. Humans possess both divine and demonic aspects. Does this mean everyone can open both God Path and Devil Path divine treasures? He was stunned, then his body trembled with exhilaration. Has anyone attempted to open the Devil Path treasures before? If not, am I the first? That's right. Divine treasures can be inherited. If I have a child, I can observe it. How does one give birth? The Imperial Preceptor has done so before. I should ask him. The elders who had raised Qin Mu had mostly never had children of their own, so none of them had imparted to him any knowledge or experience in this field. Village chief was the human emperor, and with the eradication of high heavens as the great duty upon his shoulders, he had never dared to establish a family. Butcher was a literary giant, wild and unrestrained beneath heaven. He had never paid the slightest heed to trivial matters such as giving birth to a child. Cripple's reputation was foul. When he was not stealing, he was being chased through the streets by others. Blind had never spoken of his family. Mute only knew he had once been badly deceived. On the night of her wedding, Granny C had slain her own husband, Li Tianqing. Deaf was drunk on painting and calligraphy, and because of it had become half-mad. He had once had a wife, but she had perished together with his country. So he never spoke of his family. It was the same for Old Ma. Old May's wife and children had died when the monks of Great Thunderclap Monastery pursued them. The only one with abundant experience in this field was Apothecary, but the people of the village usually used Apothecary as a bad example when teaching Qin Mu. This made him realize the peril of women. Village chief said how could he have a family before high heavens was destroyed? Granny said the women outside were all fox spirits. Butcher's poems and blades were both swift and fierce, and he had never had any woman before. Only then did Qin Mu realize that if he wanted a child, he could only ask Eternal Peace Imperial Preceptor, who had already given birth to one. As for the people around him, there was no need to mention the Dragon Qilin and the Water Qilin. Celestial Venerable Yu was foolish now, so there was no point in asking him, and Gongsun Yan was merely a little sapling. Even if he asked her, she would not know. I should return to eternal peace. Qin Mu sat upon the Dragon Qilin's back and turned to look at the battlefield where the two Mother Earths were clashing. From time to time, terrifying waves of power still reached this place. But he did not know whether they were ripples from divine arts rebounding, or whether the two Mother Earths were still locked in combat. Gongsun Yan also looked over anxiously. I wonder how Mother Earth is. I also don't know whether Sister Chu Yun is dead or alive. With Mother Earth Primordial Sword in her possession, she wouldn't die, right? She was somewhat lost. For tens of thousands of years, she had always remained in Mother Earth Temple outside the earthly palace. She had tended the fields and cared for Mother Earth's remnant soul. This sudden change had cast her life into disorder, leaving this pure and innocent maiden at a loss. She could no longer return to Mother Earth Temple, and this made her feel as though she had lost the path of her life. In truth, she was like a tree that preferred to be planted in one place. She was not used to drifting through the world. Beside her, Qin Mu still held her hand, and the energy of Earth Aeon Dao fruit poured endlessly through Qin Mu's hand into her body. The warmth from Qin Mu's palm made her feel at ease, and the withered sapling within the halo behind her head also began to stretch out and slowly grow. I still didn't manage to speak with Bai Quer. Qin Mu withdrew his gaze, and the youth felt somewhat dispirited. I wonder how she lived through these 40,000 years. She should have escaped that place, right? Also, no matter which Mother Earth wins, it is a good thing for eternal peace. If they perish together, that would be even better. However, the chance of that is far too small. The next best result is for both of them to be severely wounded and each occupy one side. In that case, both eternal peace and great ruins would feel the least pressure. That is a pressure I don't have the ability to create. He wanted to search for Bai Quer, But in this primordial realm, which was heaven knew how many times larger than great ruins, finding a single person was simply too difficult. And at this moment, the two Mother Earths were still battling in North High Emperor Celestial Heavens. Although it was no longer as terrifying as at the beginning, it was still enough to shake heaven and earth. Even strong practitioners of Emperor's throne would feel fear when faced with such a battle. Of these two Mother Earths, one was above the ground and one beneath it, yet the earth seemed not to exist at all. Only the Tao light of the great Tao could be seen, turning the land radiant gold. Thousands of mountains rose continuously, then were destroyed. The magnetic force drew in the sun, moon, and stars in the sky, and magnetic forces from the sun, moon, and stars would erupt from time to time, transforming into shocking blades of light that descended from the heavens to slash at the enemy. With my abilities, it is very difficult to kill both Mother Earths. After all, I am only at numinous sky realm and have yet to cultivate to Emperor's throne. Don't you think so, Liu Zhang? At the border of the battlefield, Scholar sat on the donkey's back and watched this astonishing battle. She said to the donkey, "I can only hope for the next best scenario, and that is for both Mother Earths to severely injure each other, forcing them to stand on opposing sides and divide the power of primordial realm, so they won't pose too great a threat to eternal peace." The donkey said, "Eyeing." Scholar opened her small bag and said with a smile, "Luckily, these two Mother Earths were injured in their battle and are not at their peak. Otherwise, I would have to cultivate to Emperor's throne realm to severely injure them." The donkey said with a smile, "Hui hui. You are right. I can defeat Guan Cha, the number one in martial Tao, so I can certainly injure Mother Earth heavily. It's just that two Mother Earths make me feel extra pressure." Countless chess pieces were placed in her bag, and the donkey carried her far away. Scholar threw the chess pieces down at every fixed distance and said with a smile, "Go has 19 rows and columns, and that is set for mortals. How can a true game of chess have only 19 rows and columns? With the starry sky as the game and the land as the chessboard, there are thousands upon thousands of rows and columns. When this game transforms into a formation, that will be a calamity. Liu Zheng, I feel my formation skills can be ranked number 1. Hui." The donkey sprinted swiftly, its speed extremely fast. This donkey ran one full circle around the battlefield of the two Mother Earths. And Scholar had also thrown down countless black and white chess pieces. She raised her head to look at the astronomical phenomenon in the sky, and she suddenly shouted as she swept her feather fan forcefully toward the battlefield. Far away, Qin Mu was currently hurrying on his journey when his heart suddenly throbbed. He hurriedly looked back and was struck dumb. In that battlefield where both Mother Earths were, a black beam and a white beam of light coiled around each other as they rushed into the sky. It was as if two enormous black and white dragons were twisting furiously. He was already extremely far from the ancient battlefield, probably 10,000 miles away, yet he could still see that black and white light clearly. One could well imagine how thick those two beams of light had to be to form such a destructive spiral. Is this a divine art? No, that's not right. No one possesses such powerful magic power. This is a formation skill. He fell into a daze as he watched that formation skill filled with destructive might, tearing through everything in Mother Earth's battlefield. The distance was too great, so he could not see the transformations within the formation. However, he could sense the transformations and killing intent from the ripples. The power of this perilous formation was terrifying. Who laid down this formation? Could they be borrowing the laws of heaven and earth to wipe out Mother Earth? Now that primordial realm has been unsealed, there truly are so many strong practitioners. He turned around and sorted out his emotions before putting his heart into studying Life and Death Divine Treasure. Life and Death Divine Treasure was the divine treasure that Elder Messenger of Death had opened, and it belonged to the 6th divine treasure of the Divine Treasure Cultivation System. It led directly to Yudu and borrowed the power of Yudu through life and death. Qin Mu's understanding of the power of Yudu needed no explanation. However, his life and death divine treasure was different from the others. There was a distinction between Yudu and Xuandu, and there were no predecessors for him to study from. He had to comprehend everything himself. And the most crucial point is still that after life and death divine treasure, I have no further path. I will still need to open divine bridge divine treasure. Qin Mu's gaze flickered. The dragon Qilin walked forward at a steady pace, while Celestial Venerable Yu studied hard to make spirit pills as rations for the water Qilin. His pill furnaces exploded from time to time, turning his face black with soot. I've finally completed a furnace. Celestial Venerable Yu's delighted voice rang out, and he grabbed a handful of spirit pills from the boiling hot pill furnace. Under the water Qilin's expectant gaze, he stuffed them into his own mouth. Next, Celestial Venerable Yu's face turned green, and he began foaming at the mouth. Qin Mu spent quite a lot of effort reviving him and removing the poison. He taught him patiently. Refining pills is a work of temperament and also a work of technique. At the same time, it is also very dangerous. If the herbs are matched even slightly wrong, or if the heat is slightly off, what you refine will not be spirit pills but poisonous pills instead. In the future, after you finish refining, don't eat them first. Let Ashui eat them first. The water Qilin's face turned black as he carried Celestial Venerable Yu and continued on the road. That's right. Weren't the spirit pills you made meant for Ashui to eat? Qin Mu suddenly came to his senses and asked in puzzlement, "Why did you eat them yourself?" Celestial Venerable Yu lowered his head apologetically. "They smelled really nice. I couldn't resist." Qin Mu shook his head and threw him more herbs while he pondered. Life and death divine treasure and how to open divine bridge divine treasure. He sank deep into thought, and sometimes walked back and forth on the dragon Qilin. Gongsun Yan was being held by him, so she could only follow him back and forth. The energy of Earth Aeon Dao fruit raised her cultivation very quickly, and her primordial spirit also grew stronger and stronger. As the small primordial tree grew, it awakened more great Dao of Yuandu for her. Gongsun Yan was somewhat muddle-headed, and she did not know what had happened. She wanted to ask Qin Mu, yet she did not dare disturb him, so she could only keep it in her heart. Staring at the ground, she felt that the earth had a unique attraction, making her unable to help wanting to root herself into the soil at once. She truly felt like planting down her primordial spirit and becoming a huge tree. It would be best if she could even breed a nest of baby phoenixes in the tree crown. Suddenly, she sensed that there was also a tree within Qin Mu's body, and that tree supported heaven and earth as it passed through the divine treasures in Qin Mu's body. That tree was also continuously absorbing the nourishment of Earth Aeon Dao fruit. Could he also be a tree? Gongsun Yan blinked and felt happy. He is also a tree. In that case, we can find a warm place to take root. We can hold hands and touch our roots as we bathe in the sunlight. We can have several nests of phoenixes in our tree crowns, and when these phoenixes are bored, they will sing and call to one another. She looked forward very much to this kind of blissful life. And yet the builder tree in Qin Mu's body was different from what she imagined. Builder tree had been created by Xu Shenghua, and Qin Mu had perfected it together with him. The main point was using algebra and the structure of vital qi to form it, using it to connect heaven and earth, passing through all the divine treasures to combine all the divine treasures into one. Divine Bridge. Divine treasure is a flying bridge that connects to the Celestial Palace. When the primordial spirit stands upon the bridge and walks up step by step, one can reach the outside of Southern Heavenly Gate. Using Builder Tree Divine Bridge can also achieve this result. But Builder Tree Divine Bridge is too difficult. It is only a little simpler than soaring into the Celestial Palace through the martial path. The algebra involved is too complicated. Qin Mu calculated silently in his heart. Martial arts heavenly teacher destroyed my divine bridge, divine treasure, and allowed me to reopen it, so this is a chance for me to experiment. There is not only one method to ascend into the Celestial Palace, right? Perhaps there are still other methods. He was filled with excitement and immediately tried his hand at it by experimenting within his body. He thought to himself, "Can I open a Paramita divine treasure? Sailing on a Paramita ark to reach the Celestial Palace on the other shore?" All kinds of marvelous thoughts began surging from him. Builder Tree Innate Divine Bridge is too difficult to cultivate. In that case, I can construct a Builder Tree Divine Treasure and plant the builder tree in the seventh divine treasure. It will be slightly simpler than builder tree innate divine bridge. Just allow builder tree to grow and reach straight for the celestial palace. I can also create a heaven access rope. Dangle the rope down from southern heavenly gate and climb upward toward the celestial palace. That's right, I can also construct a levitating pool divine treasure by making use of jade pool to levitate from the bottom up, passing through jade pool to land on jade pavilion. But in this case, cultivation would be raised straight to jade pavilion realm and turn one into a heavenly god. It can only be done if a divine art practitioner has as much magic power as a true god. It's impossible for anyone to have such dense accumulation, but it is still a feasible method. That's right, there is also another method, which is to turn the seventh divine treasure into the celestial river. Since the celestial river flows down from the celestial heavens, one can reach the celestial palace on just a single celestial river. Qin Mu was ineffably excited, and he thought of more and more ways to open the seventh divine treasure. Every method was feasible, but what he had to do was turn these ideas into reality. My current cultivation is still not at the standard where I can open the seventh divine treasure, but I can first use my vital qi to transform into the shapes of these divine treasures. With Mother Earth's Earth Aeon Tao fruit, my cultivation is rising rapidly. I am not far from opening the seventh divine treasure. He was brimming with confidence, and he raised his head to look into the distance. With the Dragon Chillin's leg strength, we will probably take a few months to reach Eternal Peace Capital City. When I reach the capital city, my cultivation should be enough to open the seventh divine treasure. After I open Paramita Divine Treasure, I will go to the capital city and have martial arts heavenly teacher destroy it, so I can try opening Builder Tree Divine Treasure. After trying all the methods, I shall find the simplest one, and this will perfectly solve the problem of the people of Eternal Peace and Great Ruins having broken divine treasures. He poured all his heart and mind into constructing the shapes of the divine treasures and connecting the divine treasures to the celestial palace until he had no time to concern himself with the matters happening outside. The Dragon Chillin hurried along with all his strength, and only after 8 months did they arrive near the capital city. Numerous half-gods had appeared along the journey. The half-gods all resided among grand mountains and mighty rivers, keeping to themselves. The Dragon Chillin had the Water Chillin scout for information, and the Water Chillin returned to report. Brother, there are now 2 Mother Earths, and no one knows who is real and who is fake. There is also a scholar on a donkey who heavily injured both Mother Earths, and they escaped. Now everyone is anxious and doesn't dare cause any trouble. The Dragon Chillin said in astonishment, "There's actually such a thing. Cult Master, you're awake?" Qin Mu opened his eyes and shook his head. He had been wholly focused on deducing the seventh divine treasure and felt muddle-headed. Even when he refined spirit pills and cooked for them, he had been somewhat careless. "Where's little brother?" Qin Mu looked around and only saw a round water Qilin and a round roly-poly. He could not see Celestial Venerable Yu and asked in bewilderment, "Big brother, I'm here." That round roly-poly raised his hand and called out. The Dragon Qilin explained, "Cult Master, when you were in comprehension, Fatty Yu finally succeeded in making spirit pills, so he started eating together with Ah Shui. After 8 months, that is the result. Cult Master, I didn't eat." Qin Mu turned in a fluster to look at Gongsun Yan beside him, only then realizing he was still holding her hand. Gongsun Yan had not become fat, but there was a small tree in the halo behind her head, currently swaying gently in the wind. Gongsun Yan had even used tree branches to weave a nest in the tree crown, and it looked slightly like Feng Chiyun's phoenix nest. Qin Mu blinked and thought to himself, "The people around me are all abnormal. Only Fatty Dragon and I. No, only I am normal. Fatty Dragon, let us go," the youth said with high spirits. "Enter the capital. Let us find martial arts heavenly teacher. I'm about to open my seventh divine treasure, so I need him to shatter it again. Wait a moment. Go to Imperial Preceptor's manor first. I need to ask Imperial Preceptor how to give birth to a baby."